Rasheed and Cara's wedding. Though it wasn't easy emotionally, I got my way and attended Rasheed and Cara's wedding without a +1. I have to say that it was far more relaxing than I realised it would be right from the start. Not having to worry about what Luna might be up to, how she might be thinking and feeling about how I was behaving. The wedding was a 3-day event at a rented property situated on a grassy hill before a salt marsh, a massive, beautiful home with a screened-in deck. I helped set up the sound apparatus on the porch, and the first night there we enjoyed a clam bake and some fun drinks. It would be tiresome and unnecessary to name all those who attended, but some will be revealed as the story progresses. I was still plenty in my head around this time as I processed the recent severance from Luna, and still wondered if I had really made the right decision, however great it felt for her to not be there. The next day had similar energy as it led up to the wedding. I unintentionally woke up before everyone else and decided to take a run at sunrise, a meditative prelude for the day's events. After my run, I enjoyed a bit of green power consumption and decided to work on writing this very book. Rasheed and the wedding house guests all hit the beach, but I wanted to save my energy for the wedding itself and wanted him to have his time with his friends. I had a toast I had written for Rasheed and Cara and was a little nervous about how it would ultimately come across in the moment. I'd have to watch my funny drink consumption in the meantime, so as to not be unfit for public speaking. The ceremony was beautiful, as Rasheed played guitar while Cara and her father walked down the grassy path toward him. Darshana was to wed them, and he read a heartfelt remembrance of his time knowing both Rasheed and Cara. The two read their vows to one another, each one highly customized and delightfully unorthodox, as they stood barefoot in the grass, staring into each other's eyes, like two people under the spell of an endogenous love potion. Luckily, my happiness for them trumped my sadness for my own failed relationships, and I almost cried tears of joy by the end of it all. It was so powerful. Then came my toast, at the tail end of the wood-fired pizza feast. My toast read as follows: I'd like to make a toast. Here's to Rasheed and Cara. First off, you all don't need me to tell you that Rasheed is the best older brother a guy could ask for. As you also all know, it's often customary for an older brother to have his fun picking on his younger counterpart. Rasheed wasn't free of this desire, but I'm sure he took it easier on me than he could have. Instead, he almost always let me hang out with him and his friends as long as I can remember, and that always made me feel really cool. As we have grown into adulthood, Rasheed is of course still my older brother, but he's also one of my best friends and one of the wisest men I know. So I remember when I first heard the news that my brother had met a lady up at Hip Forest, and I was really happy for him. But I also knew that meant I would have to share my time with him every holiday from then on. I have to be honest, not being able to hold him hostage while listening to our favourite music took some getting used to, but it was a natural change all younger siblings have to deal with when love enters the air, and I've learned to respect that. Cara clearly sees Rasheed for the gem of a man he is, and knowing her attention to taste, that really says a lot. Anyway, it didn't take long to see that Rasheed and Cara are perfect soulmates. It's as if the supreme intelligence of nature had planned this all along, deciding there will be two beautiful humans with matching celestial eyes and curly brown hair, destined to live and love harmoniously like a couple of blessed elves. Their love is enough to solidify one's suspicion that there is a benevolent force at work in our lives. That being said, I'm sure they will still have some of those lovely, classic relationship squabbles. If they are human and not elves, there will be the squabbles to sort out. But that's okay, because I have nothing but faith in Rasheed and Cara's ability to have a loving and rewarding marriage together. And I hope that their kindred souls are joined together for all cosmic eternity. So let's raise our glasses for my brother and sister and do them some justice. Cheers, everybody. The crowd did cheer, and I walked my speech scripture up to Rasheed, who hugged me through happy tears and thanked me for the kind words. It was an amazing moment for the both of us. The night progressed with drinking and dancing, and my friend Jasmine wanted some of the mycospawn I had grown over the summer. I hooked her up and decided, what the hell, and joined her in consuming a small but effective amount for the night. It was a bizarre come-up, to walk between different groups of people as they conversed about different topics at their different levels of intoxication. I chugged down hard cider while I danced with the wedding guests. Perma smiled and stumbling. One interaction with my cousins left me confused and a bit paranoid as I heard my cousin's girlfriend say to my aunt, "Oh yeah, butter those biscuits, right, Kelly?" Seeing that there were no actual biscuits around, and we weren't even close to the food, my metaphorical mind went to work. The fuck were they talking about? What were the biscuits? My cousin also asked me what I was doing with the girl in the blue dress upstairs. I wasn't upstairs with any girl in a blue dress at any point, so it seemed he was fishing for some weird sexual banter, which I suppose wasn't out of the ordinary. But the mycospawn made me feel like he wasn't in his right mind. I found myself dancing with Jasmine and other party guests to some toro y moi, all the while chugging down hard cider and having good laughs. My mother also danced right there with us, unaware of my mycospawn consumption, as my behaviour was not out of character. My mental state agreed well enough with most people. Then I got involved with Tristan and Marie. Tristan was Cara's old friend from high school, someone she felt compelled to have there on her special day, and Marie was Tristan's friend from the Gold Coast she brought in tow. They were both clearly inebriated and there for a good old party, but I had my eyes on Marie. Let's just say she was my type. Tristan had something off about her, however. Take, for example, how hard she gripped my wrist when I tried changing the music on the laptop. "You do not grab my wrist like that," I said, perhaps a bit too harshly in my mycospawn paranoia. I then left them alone and took my business elsewhere. I tried my luck in conversation with others and hoped that I would find less things to be paranoid about. It was just my luck then to run into Vince. This was the sommelier boyfriend of Rasheed and Cara's old apartment mate, a woman also named Cara. Vince had odd vibes about him, but he really hit it home this time around. It was as if he knew I was halfway in the great unknown. He shared his wine with me, and I remarked that I quite liked the taste, actually, whereas I'm not usually a wine guy. "You know what it tastes like?" he asked with a grin. "Ah, I don't know. You tell me, man. I haven't the lingo." "You know when a woman is on her period and you go down to pleasure her?" I paused and looked at the woman next to us, Rasheed's friend's wife, who returned my look of confusion about where exactly Vince was going with this one. "I mean, I don't usually make a plan of doing such a thing around that time, to be honest," I said with a little chuckle. This seemed to make him a little angry, even offended. "That's the best time to do it. That's when the pleasure is the best for her." "I hear you, man. I really do. I mean, I've heard that somewhere, and I really had heard it somewhere. But still, that's not really something I, look forward to, or a taste I try to recreate in my food consumption, or anything. You know?" Great. I went from a conversation with my cousin, embodying spirits of perversion, to a chat with the sommelier vagina vampire. It became harder to feel like the general direction of this celebration was going to be morally sound in any sort of way. My return to Tristan and Marie was not a good one. I found them on the couch in a corner of the porch where Tristan wept while Marie consoled her. Marie looked up at me and gave me a nervous smile that seemed to say, "I really wish this wasn't happening right now, but look at me being a good friend. I pressed for details on what was happening, and it was explained to me that Tristan had received some idea that Cara hated her and didn't want her at the wedding. Tristan, if she didn't want you at the wedding, she wouldn't have invited you. She's just trying to have a good time and wants you to have the same. I said it kindly enough, with all good vibes, an invitation back to happy feels. Marie reaffirmed my words and continued to smile at me. I wasn't sure if we should just ditch Tristan and let her figure it out herself for a good 20 minutes or so. You didn't see how she looked at me, Tristan spat out through the tears. I could tell she hated me in that moment. I was growing impatient and more focused on whether I'd have any sexual satisfaction by the end of the night. Look, she doesn't hate you, and you need to realize that we're having a wedding here, okay? At a wedding, people are just trying to have a good time, not trying to have emotional issues, etc. Does that make sense? I'd lost my patience. Well, you don't have to be a dick about it. Her crying calmed down, and now she was annoyed, resentful of my move to speed up the process of her recovery. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just my brother's wedding, and I don't want any bad vibes here, okay? Come on. We don't need to focus on any of that stuff. It's a beautiful night, and we're having a party. Let's do a group hug. An odd ploy by me, I'll admit, but they were both on board, and we shared a group hug. Hoping that I might be able to steal away Marie now, I offered them to come back inside, but she said they had to start working on the Uber home. Disappointed but ultimately understanding, I said my goodbyes, and Marie blew me a kiss from the Uber, what I'd do to see her again. I returned to the party and finally had some sane conversations with people who were more straightforward in their ways. Yo, thanks for dealing with that, man, Rasheed said earnestly as he slapped my back. That had real potential to go south. It was no problem, especially since I had more than enough practice dealing with less than ideal vibes during Great Unknown excursions. We got back to our consumptions of friendly powers and enjoyed King's Cup late into the night as we shared ridiculous jokes with a tasteful amount of belligerence. The wedding ended up being one for the books. Mostly, however, I do not recommend mycospawn at a wedding because of the potential for things to get emotionally dark. Tread with caution in those waters, yes, but it was an introspective ride I found enjoyable for my set and setting.